Hey, listeners, can you believe we have been producing the HAVYN Hubcast for over a year? In celebration of this momentous occasion, we are resharing with you a handful of our favorite episodes, guests, and interviews. Have a listen and hope you enjoy them as much as we do.
Welcome to the HAVYN Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders, owners, and professionals are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Hear from industry experts on everything from marketing, leadership, financing, and more. Brought to you by HAVYN, a co-working space where you can connect, create, and get stuff done.
Hello and welcome to the HAVYN Hubcast. I am Nancy Sheed, your co-host, and I am so excited to be here today with Galia Gichon. Galia is a financial literacy expert. Her company is Down to Earth Finance. She has been on Wall Street and she has been an expert in this field of personal finance for more than 20 years. She has been featured in publications like on Today's Show. She's been on CNN. She's been in Real Simple. So she knows her stuff, and we are very excited to talk to her about what's doing in the world of financial literacy. So welcome, Galia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I am getting the chance to talk about the things that I love to people that hopefully want to hear it. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I gave a little brief intro to your background, but walk us through what it looked like when you started on Wall Street to how you got to where you are today and kind of what your focus is in this space of financial literacy and empowerment and things that you're helping with the world make a better place.
Yeah, well, I know that I could talk for hours about this, but I will keep it very, very short. But I started out on Wall Street and I initially took for granted that I was very good at managing my own personal finances. And I realized quickly that most people were not. In fact, I would say everybody I worked with or was friends with or my family were not good with their personal finances. But I was working in the research department. And so I started to become very good and proficient and trained in how to teach. Even though I was in a Wall Street research department, I was really writing research to educate our consumer. So I decided to take that and really put it to what was important to me, which is teaching women, freelancers, entrepreneurs, which is the three groups that I still work with, and really focusing them on teaching them about their finances from an independent standpoint. So that's why it's financial literacy. It is financial planning, but it's independent. I don't work for any bank. I just work for myself.
Fantastic. And we were speaking earlier. And so back in the day, I actually worked at a personal finance magazine, right? Like, so back in the days when we had Money Magazine and, it was about mortgages and your house and, mutual funds, right? And all those dry things that a lot of people steered clear of. How do you change the language so it becomes more appealing to the people that you serve? What's changed in this time frame?
It's so funny, Nancy, because I'm laughing. Last night, literally, I gave a presentation and someone said, "Oh, should I be reading Kiplinger's?" And I had to say, "Well, is Kiplinger still around?" Maybe it is. I don't know. But I used to call it the granddaddy or grandmother of personal finance because it was really like the first magazine. And then Money Magazine, I would read religiously. I would, get my copy in the mail or go to the newsstand. So, and I do have a few things that I still love to read, but obviously they're online. So, it's so much of money, what I've learned. And look, I'm I have an MBA in finance, undergrad degree in finance and accounting. I'm a very pragmatic, financial nuts and bolts person, but I realize that money is actually about our habits and really just how we think about money. So yes, I give very practical action steps when I'm working with clients or my seminars, but it's so much about is our habits. So it's really implementing really, really healthy money habits into our daily, weekly, monthly habits. So that's a lot of what I talk about. It is absolutely, absolutely focused on still budgeting and just, believe it or not, my hardest clients that are the budgeting are the high net worth clients, but because they spend more.
Really?
They spend more. Literally last night I gave a workshop for 50 people and it was the photographers and some of them just, haven't had work in a long time. And those are the easier ones, believe it or not.
Right.
And then just dealing, especially I do a lot of work with freelancers. So helping people who have variable income and just pay their own taxes and do their own retirement. And I actually love talking about investments and mutual funds, but I focus it on a way that you can do it yourself very, very inexpensively. So you don't have to pay a lot in fees.
So you break it down into language and understandable sort of terms and approaches for a lot of people whose eyes glaze over when you say, what?
Yes. Yes.
You know, the minute you even say the word finance or financial, I think a lot of people completely, cringe up.
They do.
And Galia, the landscape has also changed in how we can invest our money, right? As well as who's investing their money, right? Again, 20 years ago, the landscape looked a little bit differently in terms of who was managing the finances and everything else. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that looks like? Is there a shift in who's managing the money? Is money divided differently now in households? What does that look like to you in terms of how you're helping people?
Well, we'd start that, from an investment standpoint, a question that I get asked all the time, and in fact, I did a workshop on this at the Brooklyn Library during COVID, is so one area that people have really shifted is talking about investments from a, what's called SRI and ESG standpoint. So that's socially responsible investments, and ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. So that's really investing with your heart and your passion, but still making a return. So that's something that is, brought up to me all the time. So I can definitely guide people in that direction of ETFs or mutual funds or index funds that follow really investing with their principles and their values from and it's a lot of it is around climate change and women and people of color within firms. So that's something that comes up in every workshop, including my college kids, my freelancers, my artists. So that's something that I see more and more. And then in terms of within the personal, who's investing what? So much of it is I'm just teaching people most people have investments. You might have a 401k from an old job or an IRA, or if you truly weren't working because you were home maybe with raising your kids, your family might have investments. So the first step really is just learning what you've got. And that's so empowering. So do you have old investments? Do you have an old 401k from old jobs? Do you have an IRA? Or did you and your spouse or partner invest together? Or did you inherit some money? So really the first step is just seeing what I've got and learning about that. And then I can make the decision, what should I do with it? And that is empowering right there, just to really learn, here's what I own, and taking that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then the next step of not being overwhelmed of the myriad of opportunities of things that you can do with your money and not, again, being overwhelmed. So I'm incredibly helpful to have a guide like you to say, okay, do you have questions that you ask people to help them filter down what their options are? How do you get them to those decisions?
Well, probably one of the most important things I suggest, and it's such a simple thing, is consolidate your investments. Because again, chances are, and I see this all the time, you have investments from old jobs, maybe old pensions if you were a teacher, or if you worked in municipal, you worked for a city or state, and I see this all the time. I literally help people find money. In every workshop I do, somebody finds 10,000, 20,000, 5,000 because they had it from an old job that they forgot about.
Fascinating.
And it cannot tell you how, literally, it's like cha-ching, cha-ching. So number one, if you can consolidate your investments to as few places as possible. So ideally pick one large mutual fund company like a Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab, which are really the three largest in the country. So number one, that's going to also make you feel so much more in control because you're not getting 5 statements a month, or you're not sure. And then you're also paying double fees. Your investments, you don't have a proper asset allocation. So that to me is a crucial first step, is just getting organized and consolidate to as few places as possible.
I love that. And I'm hearing you say that's better and empowering versus diversifying and having a little bit here and a little bit there, which just feels really messy and overwhelming and confusing. And then you can't see the big picture when you're trying to manage, right?
Right, exactly. So if I were to look at 5 statements, and by the way, I don't know about you, but when I get my statements, they're about 30 pages because the actual investments are only 2 pages, but they have all the backup. They have all of
all the transactions.
Yes, the transactions, which are dividends and such. And then they also have all their disclaimers. I swear they have like 3 pages in disclaimers. So that's number one. And then I happen to have my kids' college funds on there too. So it's like, I have information that's not even super relevant for me personally directly. Imagine if I got 5 of those, that's 150 pages a month. I wouldn't look at that. And I know how to read it and I know what to do with it. So again, it's just, I'm all about really creating habits for you. So that's number one, is consolidating your statements. And then you can also easily do what's called a retirement forecast. So that just says, where am I today? What is that going to mean for me when I'm 60, 65, 70? It's a fantastic exercise I do. There's a really great calculator on Fidelity. You don't have to be a Fidelity client. Just literally Google retirement forecast. They ask for 5 questions. It's graphically pleasing for those artists out there. And it literally tells you, there's an odometer that tells you, do I have 80% of what I need, 90%? You can play around with the numbers. literally my artist clients, their face lights up. They're like, oh, this is so cool. I like the colors. But more importantly, you walk away and say, okay, if I save $100 a month, I'll have at age 65. If I save $1,000 a month, this is what I'll have. So it just gives you very, very clear, concrete, concise guidelines as to what to do to save for retirement.
Okay, say it again. So those who are listening and don't have a piece of paper to write it down, say what that secret link is on Fidelity.
It's a very, very long website. So if you Google Fidelity Retirement Score Calculator, it'll come up.
Okay, perfect.
And you don't have to be a client. And you literally, it asks you for 5 questions that you can change around and have fun with.
Okay, we've just empowered thousands of listeners, Galia. I can tell.
So.
We're going to exactly.
I hope so.
So, Galia, you have clients, you do workshops, you give talks, you write about this. The reason you and I came to sort of actually know each other was through the writing part, and it wasn't about personal finance. So let's talk about your journey and where this actually dovetails back into, your empowerment. I met you as an author, and I'd love for you to sort of tell more about your journey to authoring your book.
To authordom.
Exactly. You're adding that extra thing on your LinkedIn profile that says author.
Yes.
Talk to us more about your book that launched and your journey there, and how that actually matches up nicely with how you're talking to people and the view of the world you want to see.
And it's so funny, Nancy, because when I started writing personally, it was 100% for me, 100% for me as an outlet, for me as a way to just really explore my own creativity. And then lo and behold, I'm very goal-oriented for those of you who don't know me. And so lo and behold, I'd like to say it happened overnight, but 5 years later, I did end up publishing a fiction book. And what I found is that when I started talking about the book and just, going on my sort of digital book tour is what I'm calling it, with like podcasts and bookstores and such, all digital or virtual, I should say, is that the book actually had a lot more in common with what I call my day job, which is giving talks on personal finance. And the way I look at, I'll start with the way I look at my personal finance is I'm really creating financial independence and financial empowerment and choices for you. So you have a choice when you're 60, 65, or 50, or next year from now to make choices about what you want to do because you have the money, you feel in control of your money. So that's really my ultimate goal. It's for all of us to feel empowerment and to make those independent choices regardless of our personal life, but we know that we can support ourselves financially. Whether you're a woman, single woman, married, you fill in the blank. I work with so many people. When I wrote my book, so personally, I love to read. I love to read fiction. Someone was actually just, suggesting this memoir to me. I'm like, no. And I should read business books, but I gravitate towards fiction. It's what I get into bed with every night and read a fiction book. So as a result, when I started, I had moved from New York City to Connecticut, and I was just really looking for something for me. I had kids. My kids were a little smaller, and I worked full time, but I just found that I wasn't doing something for me. So I started taking writing classes. Someone had actually suggested that in my town has actually a lot of really wonderful writers' workshops. It was a good way for me. Also, I wanted to meet people that were out of my kids' school, or not that I worked with, but just meet people that kind of meet more diverse people. Started taking writing classes, loved it, and I still do. I take a writing class now, and I really will not. It's Mondays from 1 to 4. I mean, my good friends and my family knows that I will, short of if my kid has like something at the ER, other than that, I will not reschedule. I really, it's.
Do not get in the way of this woman's writing class.
It is absolutely sacred to me. I've met such wonderful people from it. So the writing class personally has fulfilled something for me. And then as a result, I wrote this book. It's historical fiction, which really, again, is what I like to read. Like I remember reading The Red Tent and The Orphan Train, which are, and Kristen Hanna and these books and Paula McLean that I was like, oh my God, I love these books. And so I started writing short stories around historical fiction, but I am a feminist. It's something that is very, very important to me is women's empowerment and women's independence. And so how did I get into the suffragist? I think it was just a time era that I've always, I joke I've had a crush on since I was a teen, Susan B. Anthony, and then Alice Paul and Harriet Stanton Blatch. And these are just women that I admired about. I'd written biographies about them, and I ended up writing historical fiction books. It's called The Accidental Suffragist, and it's
fantastic, I can say. As a reader and a book group host of the book, we had a lovely conversation about it, but it's been fascinating to see how it dovetails into what you're doing now and how I think each one of them benefited from each other, right?
You know what? It is The book for me has done so much. It has done so much for me personally to be able to just talk about this time in history that, frankly, I learned so much about. I mean, I think we know very, very surface like what happened. The amendment was passed, women got the right to vote, but the path that women took there, and I wanted to do it in a way that was entertaining. At the end of the day, I want you to pick up this book because you want to be entertained. I don't profess to be a teacher or professor in that perspective. So I really want you to enjoy the book. And the main character is totally made up. She's a fictional character. Terrible things happen to her, which makes you root for her. But again, she's fictional. She's 100% made up. But what I found is that it brought up so many great conversations about female empowerment, how little we knew and how we still need to learn about history because we're still fighting these fights today. And it's interesting. I'm getting a lot of questions about activism, which I'm not an activist. I, of course, support it and I go to marches and such, but I'm not an activist. I don't know. It's just something that has really come up in a lot of conversations. And at the end of the day, it's really about female empowerment, which does work with what I like to do with, or what I'm doing with my career as well.
I love the clarity that you have for both. And, some people would say, wait, these are two disparate things. And through the lens that you have of the world and your view of the world, I love how they come together so nicely and complement each other in what you're doing. It's really clear. And I love seeing you get excited,
Yes,
chatting about it.
I do get excited. It's something that I didn't realize that I would get so excited about. And I've had people say that they read the book and they literally Google. They're like, did this really happen? Is she making it up? And it did happen. So that's the other thing is that I learned about these crazy, crazy things that women went through 100 years ago, which on one hand, you're like 100 years ago, that's a million years ago. But there's things that you read in this book that you're like, wow. And some things haven't changed, so that's number one.
Some things haven't changed, and some things are still going on and needing conversations about.
Absolutely. And that's all I actually want is just for us to have conversations.
Well, I love having conversations with you, Galia. Tell me, we're here, and we met through HAVYN, and I'm a huge fan of the HAVYN community. Tell me, Galia, what brought you either to the HAVYN community, or how has the HAVYN community served you, or what has it done for you, or vice versa? What have you enjoyed about it in your time there? And I think, did you come in pre-COVID, or were you during COVID? What was your experience?
Again, do you have an hour? I guess we don't, out of respect for people's time. So first of all, I have always been a fan of community and co-working spaces. I was part of a co-working space in New York City almost 20 years ago. I showed up with a big pregnant belly. My daughter's now 17. So I have been partially is when I lived in New York, I had a small New York City apartment. And so I needed a co-working space, but also just as a person who works for themselves, even if you have a wonderful office at home, I think it's really, really important to get out. I get more done when I leave the house. I get more done when I'm not in my space. I know I've got a start time and an end time. And then also just as somebody who works for themselves, to see people and meet people. Like Nancy, you and I wouldn't have met if it weren't for HAVYN.
No.
And you and I have connected on so many different areas. And I love to see the work that you're doing. So I think to build our community as solopreneurs or people who work for themselves is absolutely crucial. So I had been and I think what Felicia, who owns HAVYN, has done is, she is a real visionary. I do see this. It's funny. The woman who owned my co-working space in New York City was a real visionary. And she really sees that the point of offering a place where people can connect is crucial to our sanity, our mental health, our businesses, our success. I think we just also take ourselves a little more seriously as women business owners. So I think HAVYN is a fantastic place. I had not been a member until during COVID. I had actually gone to many events at HAVYN and I knew it.
Got it.
So I live about probably, 5 miles the way the crow flies, or 7 miles the way the crow flies. But to go there on a daily basis is, probably not. But I do have an office there. So I go there about once a week and I attend events. And I have made some wonderful, wonderful relationships there. So she also draws from different communities within Fairfield County that I think is like, I live in Westport, Connecticut. So I do have an office here and I only meet people from Westport
right.
But here it's like I've met at HAVYN, obviously people from different parts, people from Greenwich, people from New York City. So, she's really drawing upon a community. And I think she's offering cutting edge programming. I really do think her programs are top quality. And she's also offering these salons that are, not curated, but she's really saying, okay, here's a group of 8 to 10 women that I think have some sort of thread in common. By the way, like somebody selling real estate with me, might not have a lot in common, but yet we sat there for half an hour and talked. So
right.
She's putting people together that do have a thread in common that, I've walked away, now I'm having a business venture with somebody I've met at the salon. So, I mean, I really give Felicia credit for that.
I love that.
She's also making it fun, right?
Well, exactly. And I think that was the part I didn't, I was like, I have a home office. I'm fine. I think same thing. Like, I didn't realize how much I was missing the community part until it was there in terms of the connections or the people or, the spontaneous combustions that don't happen because there's no water cooler in our home offices. So I'm very, very grateful to HAVYN for bringing us together as well, Galia.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time, sharing us your story. We have some fantastic tips about getting started and consolidating and how to figure out retirement all in less than 20 minutes. How do we tell people to connect with you, Galia, in terms of wanting to know more about you and what you do?
So you can check me out on my website, downtoearthfinance.com. So that's probably the best place. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can send me an email. You can connect with me on social media, which is Pages and More. That's my personal Instagram, but it's definitely more book focused. You can also check out my book, which is for sale on Amazon or Bookshop or Indie Shop, which is The Accidental Suffragist by Galia Gichon. Those few places. Thank you so much, Nancy. This is amazing.
Oh, Galia, thanks for being here and thanks for listening. We'll be back with another HAVYN Hubcast after this.
Thanks for listening to the HAVYN Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders and owners are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. HAVYN is a co-working space and virtual community located in the heart of Fairfield County, Connecticut. HAVYN is a hub for business owners and professionals to connect, create, and get stuff done. Find out more about the HAVYN community online at havyn.com. That's HAYVN.com. HAVYN Hubcast is produced by Sound Advice Strategies.